Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the League of Women Voters of the Bay Area Biennial Council of 2025. I want to make sure you feel welcome. We have a few housekeeping rules. Of course, we always observe civil discourse, rules of empathy and respect. You will be muted, but you can use the chat to share your comments and your questions, and we will be asking you questions and asking you to use the chat, which will be recorded. The recording and the chat will be posted to and the slides will be posted to our website. If we do a Q&A, please use the raise hand function. I want you also to know that we have our board members present. Madeline Cronenberg, unfortunately, is on vacation in Ireland, and she has informed us she may, at this point in time, be kissing the Blarney Stone. We have one of our members in Louise, who is in Milwaukee, and I'm hoping everybody else is present and accounted for. Next slide. Our agenda, pretty standard, but we are really excited to have Daniel Saver do a presentation on what's going on with Bay Area housing. BAHFA says it all. And then we'll be talking about our priorities, issues of emphasis, and with special reports on the projects in our league is doing, and a report on the regional government and regional planning study status, our action plan for 2025-2026, and asking for your priorities and your inputs. Next slide. Just a reminder of our mission. We are here to look at the big picture in the Bay Area. And so we want to make sure that we observe regional planning and governance, review how decision-making impacts communities, addresses systemic inequities, and promotes transparency, financial accountability, and inclusive participation. And the next slide. I'm going to turn the meeting over to my co-president, Roma Dawson.
Thank you so much, Marianne, and welcome everybody. Daniel Saver is the Deputy Executive Director for Housing and Energy for the Metropolitan Transportation Commission and the Association of Bay Area Governments. And just in case you missed our League Day on MTC ABAG, League Day 2025, it is available still on our website, and I urge you all to check it out. I'm going to keep this intro very short. I could go on a very long time, and you'll recognize Daniel from Convention 2025, where he presented on Plan Bay Area, another program we're very interested in. Daniel actually oversaw the expansion of MTC ABAG's housing-related efforts. He helped launch the Bay Area Housing Finance Authority, we call BAHFA, and the award-winning Regional Housing Technical Assistance Program, which supported all 109 Bay Area jurisdictions as they developed their housing elements. I know most of you are familiar with that term. He holds a law degree from Harvard Law School and a BA from UC Berkeley. And now I am going to turn it over to Daniel for his presentation. And Daniel, thank you for taking time away from your family on a Saturday. We're very grateful.
Well, thank you very much, Roma, and to everyone. I'm very grateful to be invited here. I'm happy to share my Saturday morning with y'all, and then really delighted to be able to talk a little bit about housing in the Bay Area with everyone here. And I recognize some of the names from some of those prior events that Roma just referenced. So for those who I've seen before, it's nice to see you, or at least your name again. And for those who I haven't met before, as Roma said, I'm Daniel Saver. I'm the Deputy Executive Director for Housing and Energy at the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, the Association of Bay Area Governments. And in that role, I help to oversee the Bay Area Housing Finance Authority, or BAHFA. So that's a whole lot of gobbledygook, bureaucratic gobbledygook there. I'll be talking a lot focused today about BAHFA specifically. So thank you for pulling up the slides. So today's webinar is our webinar. Today's my presentation to y'all, my chat with y'all today is going to proceed in two parts. So the first is going to be just a quick reminder about what is BAHFA and highlight some of our current programs and accomplishments. And then I'll talk a little bit about the regional revenue measure, our status, our financial status in terms of where we're at right now as an agency. So that'll conclude the first part. The second part then dives more specifically into a strategic planning process that we have just recently launched, and that's going to run through the rest of this year. So if we could go to the next slide, please. All right, so this is the kickoff of part one. This is just a quick refresher on some BAHFA basics, if you will. The Bay Area Housing Finance Authority is the first regional housing finance authority in the state of California, and we were created by the state legislature. Our core power is to raise transformative scale revenue across all 9 counties in the Bay Area to support the 3 Ps of housing: production, preservation, and protections. We take a collaborative approach focused on adding value to the really robust housing system that we do have. We're so privileged to have here in the Bay Area. So we're really trying to find ways of delivering additional value and not just redundancies within that system. And we have a somewhat unique governance structure where we're co-governed by the BAHFA board, which is coterminous with the commission, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, as well as the Association of Bay Area Governments. So what that means at the end of the day is that many of our large decisions, like, for example, whether to put a revenue measure on the ballot, require really broad buy-in from local elected officials all across the region. So both boards have to concur. Both boards are made up of local elected officials. So that's over 50 local elected officials that participate in the decision-making there. So let's go to the next slide. So as that's pulling up, I think many folks heard about BAHFA first through Regional Measure 4, which was our attempt to place a $20 billion housing bond on the November 2024 ballot. I'm going to come back to that in just a second, but I wanted to highlight this slide to really show the ways in which BAHFA has been and continues to be more than just a ballot measure. I think there's so much focus went into RM4 because it was so important. But at this stage, it's really valuable to highlight the way that BAHFA connects with a lot of the other work that's happening in an ongoing way. So one of the things that I think is so exciting about BAHFA is that it is situated within the MTC ABAG family of regional government agencies. And so that allows us at BAHFA to complement some of the longstanding work that's done by those other agencies. So on the planning side of this screen, you see some outcomes that are primarily on that side associated with work managed by MTC and ABAG. And then what BAHFA brings to the table is an ability to move from planning and policy directly to financing, funding, and implementation. So that's the new tool that we have in our regional toolbox. Previously, the regional toolbox was really focused on planning. Now we do that planning work and we're able to try to actually deliver new homes for people, et cetera. So you see just some of the outcomes here, hundreds of thousands of new units worth of zoned capacity that we have supported over the years. And then thousands of new affordable homes that BAHFA has actually already started to finance. And so just wanted to really highlight that as, again, even without the ballot measure, we have been able to attract resources to deliver these outcomes for our region. It doesn't just end there. You see down here at the bottom, recently released. One thing I'll really point your attention to is Doorway. Doorway is an online platform that helps folks find and apply for affordable housing in a seamless way. It's for those of you who track how affordable housing works, it's kind of wild. If you're a poor person trying to find affordable housing, it's much more difficult than if you are somebody who can afford market rate housing. If you can afford market rate housing, you go to Craigslist or Zillow and all the listings are there and it's easy to find. Not so for affordable housing. We're trying to fix that with this regional technology platform that is actually launched. And you can go onto the website and poke around and find various affordable housing opportunities throughout the region. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this will have us pivoting a little bit to kind of looking ahead. So not just what has BAHFA been doing, but what are we thinking about moving forward? Obviously, there was a huge disappointment for RM4 to be removed from the ballot, though history has proven that to be a wise decision with the failure of Prop 5 to garner sufficient support to be successful. But still quite a big disappointment. Given the kind of the climate that we're in, the need to regroup and rally our supporters, we believe we've taken a look at this, we've talked to a lot of our stakeholders, and we believe that 2028 is likely the next best opportunity for a regional housing revenue measure. There's got to be a lot of conversations, polling that happen between now and then, so it's not to say that it will for sure happen in 2028, but that is the flag that we've put in the ground, if you will, to start moving that forward. Just because we're looking at 2028 may for a minute seem far away, but we know that it's going to come upon us swiftly, and there's a lot of work we need to do to be prepared for a potential successful measure in 2028. And so you see some of those near-term items laid out here. So that includes continuing to demonstrate proof of concept through the programs that I showed on the prior slide. We're pursuing near-term funding, including a $30 million request to the state legislature, which is very live right now. Those of you tracking the state budget negotiations know that this is kind of rubber meets the road time. And then another thing we are looking at is considering adjusting our legislation in order to authorize a citizen initiative so that we have a potential citizen initiative pathway available in 2028, if that is the most sensible approach. So let's go to the next slide. So this is kind of the quick status check on where we're at right now with BAHFA. As you can see here, the title kind of gives it all away. BAHFA is funded until 2026 to 2027, but thereafter we are not. We are currently entirely funded by one-time sources that we've been able to stretch over that multi-year timeline, but we currently do not have any ongoing source of revenue. So unless we're able to identify additional revenue in the near term, we will run out of money in 2026 to 2027. And as I just mentioned, we're looking at 2028 as the next potential opportunity for a ballot measure. So there's a gap there. You know, we don't have enough money currently to get ourselves all the way to even keep the option on the table for a 2028 measure. So we are grappling with that reality. We're not trying to hide that or sweep that under the rug. We're trying to address that head on. We have a number of those programs that I showed you. Most of those are going to be set to wind down in next summer of 2026, because the programmatic funding for our capital financing programs will run out. And at the staff level, we've been able to build up staff, but we're at risk of losing that staff if we don't have enough money to sustain them. So the key takeaways you see here, next summer is a key pivot moment for us. We are starting strategic planning now to ensure that we've got a smooth transition as we get through to summer of 2026. All right, so let's go to the next slide, and this is going to bring us into part 2. So the other thing we're doing, you know, to lay the groundwork for a 2028 measure and just to continue to deliver impact on housing affordability within our region is a strategic plan right now so that we can articulate a vision for what BAHFA will be in the future. So I'm going to walk through the strategic planning architecture that we've developed, and we'll be excited at the end to talk about, if there's questions, you know, ways for everybody to get involved there. So let's go to the next slide, please. So this is a high-level overview. If you're looking for one slide that sums up what we're trying to do with our strategic planning process, this is it. The North Star is to hold on to what the unique promise of BAHFA is. We are the only entity that has multi-county tax authority that can actually raise revenue at the scale needed to have systems-level change across the entire 9-county region. So we are leaning into that. We are still holding that North Star at the center of our planning work. The purpose of the strategic planning process is to articulate a vision and a plan to sustain the agency until we're able to capitalize at scale. And we know we need to do that through an inclusive process that brings a lot of voices to the table. We've structured this through 4 modules to allow us to be a little nimble. The goal isn't to produce like one report that gathers dust on a shelf at the end. The idea is to have this chunked out in modules so that we can make it easy for stakeholders to engage on the parts that are most interesting to them. And that will allow us to be nimble and take lessons from some of the earlier modules and apply them and start implementing them as we move forward. So those modules are thinking about a regional revenue measure, thinking about our funding strategy, identifying new financing products and approaches where BAHFA can add value in the regional finance ecosystem, and then also thinking about our other regional housing programs. So I got a slide each on those, so a little more detail. If we go to the next slide, please. We'll start with the first one, Module 1, thinking about a regional revenue measure. So the fundamental thrust of this module is really forward-looking. What are we going to do in terms of a future ballot measure? As I mentioned, we continue to hold that as the North Star for BAHFA. And so the purpose of this module is to lay the groundwork to unite the region around that future measure. In terms of getting there, we know we need to start by looking backwards at what happened in 2024 and ensure that we've learned lessons from that process. We actually recently had a committee meeting where we did list a variety of lessons that we've identified as staff from that. So happy to kind of reference that, and I can drop that in the chat at the end so that you can see some of the lessons that we have already articulated. Moving forward, we think that there's a great opportunity to learn from the success in Los Angeles, where they had a successful ballot measure in November of 2024 to raise $1 billion a year for housing and homelessness. And that funding is going to launch our sister agency, the Los Angeles Housing Solutions Agency, or Los Angeles County Housing Solutions Agency. La Casa is what it's kind of referred to as. It's our sister regional housing finance agency. We will also continue to monitor political and the political climate, voter attitudes. Those are, I would describe the current political dynamic as dynamic, I guess maybe that's the right word. There's a lot going on, and so we just got to keep tabs on it. What voters are thinking now may be quite different than what they're thinking in 6 months or 18 months, much less 3 years when we think about a revenue measure. So we just have to be very mindful of the shifting landscape. And then we plan to have a technical advisory group. That's one way to be engaged in this work moving forward. That'll be a really big tent kind of advisory group, advocacy organizations, local governments, other stakeholders. So let's go to the next slide. I guess maybe before I talk about this, just to put a pin in that Module 1, the intention with Module 1 is not to write the next ballot measure, to determine all the details of what the ballot measure are because of what I just said. If we're trying to wrap this up by roughly the end of this year or early next year, but we're looking at 2028 for a measure, we do not want to tie our hands around what seems best now for a measure that won't move forward for another 2 years. So Module 1 is really about laying that groundwork, the framework, the relationships, creating the big tent coalition. It's not about fixing or affixing our attention on all the specific small details of what would be in that revenue measure. So that, I think, is just an important distinction. Module 2 is to think about our funding strategy. So we're going to need money in order to continue to operate towards 2028 and beyond. Our near-term focus is on that $30 million request to the state legislature, as I mentioned. And we're going to have kind of a midterm check-in, if you will, at the end of this summer. So once we know the outcome of the state budget, which the state budget will need to be adopted in June, but we've been hearing that a lot of the details are likely to get worked out in trailer bill legislation, which may not be resolved until August, September even. So, towards the end of the summer, we're expecting to know with clarity whether we've been successful in our advocacy at the state, maybe some other early term fundraising. And then that will allow us to pivot towards a second phase, where knowing how much money we've been able to raise this year, that will guide us in terms of our how ambitious we can be when thinking about our additional programs moving forward. So we have to be scaled appropriately. If we're quite successful raising funding, that gives us more options. If we are not able to raise much or any money, we have a very different planning environment that we have to grapple with. And we expect to have another technical advisory group here with a broad set of stakeholders, and we anticipate this including funders as well. Let's go to the next slide. So Module 3 relates to new regional financing products. And so the goal here is to identify ways that in the near term, before a 2028 ballot measure, How could BAHFA add value in the financing ecosystem beyond some of the work that we're doing now? And so the intention is to develop new approaches that will do two things simultaneously. One is deliver affordability at a lower cost. We need to actually have a successful financing program that will operate in the market as it exists now. We don't want to spin something up that no developers actually want to use. The second is to generate revenue to support BAHFA's path towards self-sustainability. So, most public sector agencies, when they have money, most of the time, what we do is we put that money out as subsidy because subsidy is desperately needed. And BAHFA has been doing that through a number of our programs. We believe it's really important to hold on to the vision of BAHFA as a financially self-sustainable agency along the lines of New York Housing Development Corporation, which is from which we are modeled. And so this can be kind of a test run, if you will, into that sort of model where we put out debt products where we actually expect them to get paid back. We need those debt products to be, again, advantageous in the market. So that's the needle we got to thread. It's got to be low cost enough debt that somebody wants to use it, but it needs to still be debt so that we get paid back with some degree of interest. From a process perspective here, we've got some great technical consultants who are on board helping us look at this, running financial analyses, and we're also going to have a technical advisory group or a brain trust of housing finance gurus supporting us along the way. So let's go to the next slide, and this will be the last one of the modules. So regional housing program. So in addition to thinking about new financing approaches, I showed you that earlier slide with a variety of different programs that we're operating to deliver impact now. We need to be thinking about which of those programs are we going to be able to continue to move forward? Are there any new programs that we should be considering? And then how do we size any of our programmatic investments towards the actual dollars we have available to move things forward? So we want to be able to deliver tangible benefits in the near term and build towards that larger transformative vision. So we'll start off with kind of a backwards look, similar backwards to forwards motion here. We'll look back on what we've done, make sure we've learned lessons, evaluated where we've had the greatest impact, where maybe we've developed some programs that, while well-meaning, didn't have the intended impact or weren't as cost-effective. Take all of that information, line it up with the dollars that we have available to continue to move our programs forward, and then prioritize how we're going to invest those dollars in our programs. So here's another one where we expect to have a technical advisory group with experts across all three Ps to help provide kind of a community voice and a diverse set of perspectives about what those priorities should be. Next slide, please. Thank you all for hanging in here with me. We're getting close to the end. So this tries to show in one slide, in a timeline version, a lot of the content that I just gave to you. So there's a lot going on here, but if you take it in little chunks, hopefully it's quite intelligible. So at the top, you see broad stakeholder engagement. We actually already had our first webinar where we presented these slides in May, earlier this month. And we expect a couple other very broad kind of webinar style events as we get farther along, and then at the conclusion so that we can message out the results of this entire process. We will be guided through all of this in that orange line towards the top by our committees and boards. And all of those, I should note, are public meetings. Brown Act meetings, where the materials are posted, there's opportunity for public comment. And so we're expecting quite a few meetings getting into the fall, perhaps one still in July as we move this forward. But that's another opportunity for folks to be engaged and to be engaged really with our policymakers, our elected officials, as they think through how they're going to give staff guidance as we move through this process going forward. The modules you see here kind of shaked out. I would point your attention to the fact that there's kind of some slight color variation in the slides on the left and on the right. And that relates to the phasing that I mentioned, where by the end of this summer, we're going to know a little bit better how we've done with our initial set of fundraising activities. So we're going to be really leaning into modules 1, 2, and 3 right now. We're doing that heavily. We've already started all 3 of those. And then we're going to have kind of a midpoint check-in so that we can identify how much money we've been able to raise and then appropriately scale our planning expectations for kind of a phase 2 across all the different modules. You see there's a star there around module 1 to think about a trip to LA with some of our board members and staff and some stakeholders to think about how we can learn lessons and tighten the relationships with our colleagues in Southern California, and learn from those lessons so that we can plan more appropriately for our future revenue measure. And you can also see, I'll just draw your attention at the bottom, you see this kind of implementation question mark set of arrows. That's, as I said before, the goal here isn't to produce one long report that sits on a shelf. The idea is to work through these modules to get incremental decisions made by our board members, and to the extent we have dollars, begin implementing them right away. So that we can try to have the need for housing and affordability across all three Ps is so great in our region. I'm sure all of you know this intimately. It's hard not to, just walking around our communities. To the extent that we have resources to make a difference as soon as possible, that's exactly what we want to do. So that is, of course, subject to funding, but that is our intention should we successfully raise money. So let's go to the next slide, which I think should be, yeah, here we go. Various ways to stay involved. There are, you can sign up to stay involved through a SurveyMonkey. So that link, when it goes out, should be clickable, so that you can sign up for like an email list. We're expecting to have another webinar later in the fall. As I mentioned, all of our board and committee meetings are Brown Act meetings, and so those are available for the public to participate, add comment, listen to the conversation. We have a general email list that you can sign up for, and then you can always, if you have a more specific question that you want to get from us, you can always email us, and I'm also happy to share my email with all of you. So I believe that's it. I'm happy to take questions if there is time, and I happily defer that question to the organizers. Thank you all for letting me come and share this process with you. I really appreciate the opportunity to spread the word.
Daniel, thank you so very much. And to all of you, if you are interested, this is an excellent opportunity for those of us that are interested in housing and what we can do to support the work of BAHFA and to provide input into the development of the strategic plan. Please enter into chat right now, just your name and your email address. We're hoping to convene some discussions amongst league members as this process proceeds. Also, I hope you're all getting our e-blast. If you're not, go to LWV Bay Area and sign up for our monitor notes, because we will be sending out periodic information. Also, we have a little bit of time for a few questions. And Daniel, we're going to start out by looking at, we have a question about the feasibility of the near-term funding that you mentioned. And I need to give everyone a quick reminder that the $30 million request that Daniel references is to the State League. So we are working right now with State League to determine if there is any way League Bay Area can participate and support that request. Daniel, could you talk a little bit more about that 30 million? Is it a specific budget request? Tell us a little bit more. And again, any advocacy would have to be for you as an individual at this point. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yes, I appreciate that. It is, so yes, you are correct. So this is a request that we have made to the state legislature as a part of the fiscal year 25-26 budget cycle. And so I'm happy to share some of the materials. We've got actually a tremendous group of supporters. So I'll say, what's the feasibility? This is a tough budget year. It is a rough year to ask for money in Sacramento. And so, I think it is going to be an uphill battle. I think we are trying to be very realistic about that. That said, there continues to be a lot of support for our request. And compared to some of the other budget conversations, I'll say, on specific topics, we're relatively small, compared to the billions of dollars, that are at stake in others. And so there's a sense that, our request is like functionally a rounding error in the scope of the overall state budget. That's not to downplay its importance, but just to say that it's support for BAHFA need not be pitted against support for a lot of other really important causes that are, on the chopping block. So we think that that's part of the opportunity. We have a number of letters that have actually been sent around. I would just highlight, we've got, I think, 17 of our state legislators who signed a letter in support of from the Bay Area specifically. So that's, a vast majority of them. And a number of them don't sign those kind of letters because they're actually in leadership roles, so they don't write letters to themselves. So 17 is a pretty good starting point. We have an organizational sign-on letter that had over 50 nonprofit, primarily nonprofit advocacy development organizations within the Bay Area, which shows tremendous kind of grassroots, like ground level support. And then most recently, we had a letter of support signed, supported by over 80 local elected officials from our 9 counties. So we are very cautiously optimistic that we will get something. But as I said, but probably not everything, and we may not get anything because it's a tough year. So this is critical path time. So I appreciate your point, Roma, that should anyone feel called to do advocacy, now is the time. And really, the speaker and the pro tem are holding a lot of this, as well as some of the budget chairs. And so the Bay Area is very blessed that we have a lot of our members in those roles. So to the extent that you have relationships with, key members of the leadership on either the Assembly side or the Senate side, now is the time, really. So yes, ways to support would be, I think at this point, like directly reach out to your state legislators to let them know how important this is to you, if that is indeed true.
All right, thank you for that. And Marianne, if you could just enter our LWV Bay Area at gmail.com address. If anybody has any more questions, feel free to send it to that address. And just to ask you a quick, I know you have a hard stop fairly soon, but what our interest is really in public engagement and how you're engaging the broad spectrum of everybody that's in this Bay Area. So could you mention a little bit about the technical advisory commissions? And then I want to take a question from Barry Smith. So if you
Yeah.
could just talk about these technical advisory groups, how are you going to recruit them, who's involved, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. So we are intent, I think something that we're trying to balance is the following. On the one hand, this is a really important process to help us articulate what BAHFA will be in the next few years until we capitalize at scale. And because of that importance, we want there to be as many voices at the table as possible, helping to shape and drive this. On the other hand, we acknowledge that there are a lot of competing priorities right now for a lot of our stakeholders. And we're looking at a future ballot measure in 2028. So in discussion with some of our stakeholders, we've heard, that BAHFA may not rise to the top for them right now, or the amount of time and energy that they can put into thinking about a BAHFA measure 3 years from now may not be what they'd be willing to put in a couple years when things are a little bit more timely. So we have tried to so given all of that, we've tried to set up a structure that can accommodate different levels of participation and engagement. So we have these different modules, each of which has a separate technical advisory group. So, if we have a stakeholder who really wants to think about programs, but they're not, in the weeds of housing finance, we are making it easy for them to be engaged in that way, or vice versa. Somebody who's just a finance guru, but is, less interested in doorway, for example. So the advisory groups are pretty loose at this point. There's no kind of formal selection process. I think if folks are interested in those, then let us know. We're going to take a look at who's interested. We're spreading the word through webinar, through events like this. And we're going to kind of see who raises their hand to come to the table. And then we'll take a look to make sure that we're getting a good diversity of voices, geographies, perspectives, et cetera, and do some affirmative outreach if we need to do so. I'll also say that I also acknowledge that not everybody wants to join a technical advisory group, but still has thoughts and opinions. So like there's a lot of other ways to give us feedback. You know, I said showing up to our board meetings, coming to our webinars, emailing us. At some point, it's possible that we could do a survey. You know, we've got that Survey Monkey out so that people can give us their email addresses. So we're trying to allow folks who want to roll up their sleeves and get into this with us for months, you know, and put in a lot of time. There's a way to do that. If you just have a quick thought that you want to shoot us, and then you want to know how this thing turns out, we can accommodate that too. So we're trying to be flexible.
Thanks. And we're really thrilled to have folks from the North counties participating today. So I want to, I think Barry might be from Solano. So let me ask his question for him. We keep trying to densify the inner Bay Area, and I assume he's thinking about where I live, Santa Clara County, Alameda, San Francisco. We aren't working with tech to regionalize tech to the wide open counties of Solano, Yolo, and Sacramento, where new homes are 25 to 50% below the prices of the Bay Area. Now, I realize a little of that is beyond your 9-county jurisdiction, but would you just share a thought on that? And again, we are really appreciative of those North County folks participating today.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I guess my response, and the response that's grounded really within Plan Bay Area, is that it's a both and. So that's the challenges that we face are so systemic and deep and long in their origin story that we need a all hands on deck approach to address these challenges. So that does mean continuing to have a focus on the core kind of inner Bay Area counties, particularly to the extent that those have some of the best transit infrastructure that would allow us to have new housing located close to transit so that it's both good for housing and affordability and good for the climate and our environmental goals. And at the same time, it's kind of like we need there to be appropriate growth in all locations. And so that does include thinking about sensible places where there can be growth in the northern counties. So, you know, I think there's some very controversial ideas that are being floated around now, I think aligned with this question. You know, California Forever in Solano County is just one example. You know, we don't have a position on that particular development concept. But the idea that there can and should be sensible growth, even in some of our northern counties that are more rural, is I think baked into Plan B area. That doesn't mean throwing up skyscrapers in farmland. So like just to be clear, that I think is a red herring that sometimes we hear. It should still be sensible growth. You know, and I think that there's different ways that this could look in different communities. That is also incorporated within the broader concept of Plan Bay Area. And one of the things I think that is really unique about BAHFA is that we can raise revenue in multiple counties at once. So we have some counties that have done a great job raising revenue locally. Santa Clara County, Alameda County, San Francisco. I think what we've seen is that even with the successes in those counties that have been achieved, we are still at a regional scale not bending the affordability curve. So I think we need to do more, and we need to do it everywhere. So if there's a successful 9-county measure, that would allow us to move forward in those inner counties in ways that make sense for them, and also invest significantly in some of the northern counties where the dollars that are there may be able to produce a larger number of units because of the lower cost of land, different kind of construction dynamics, et cetera. So I appreciate the question. You know, I'm going to dodge to the extent that there's like an embedded question about California Forever. I'm going to dodge that. But just to say that we are in favor of kind of both and solutions.
Thank you, Daniel. And I know you have a hard stop. I would encourage everyone, if you still have questions, keep entering them into chat. We'll get them to Daniel and try to get you answers. And Daniel, we hope that you'll come back maybe when we convene some of our housing committees in one big Zoom meeting and drill down. One of the things we want to talk about are some of the financing products and new approaches. And also, we're intensely interested in what you find attractive about the LA model, because we're all reading a lot about the the politics in Los Angeles County between the county and the city. So at any rate, but we'll leave that for a future topic and hopefully have you back. And thank you very much. So I'm going to let you get back to your family. And many thanks for being with us on this Saturday.
Thank you all. I really, again, I appreciate the invitation. I appreciate the questions and engagement. I look forward to more.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, y'all.
Okay, now folks, just one more quick thing. If you could do us a favor, we would like to, we're going to put up a quick poll here and just ask you to enter, if you are a voting delegate, we have no votes planned for today, but we would like to have a record of the actual delegates that are attending today. So the poll is just going to ask you to, here it is, it's up now. If you would answer it, if you are not a voting delegate or don't know if you are, don't worry about answering it. But we'll leave this up for just a minute or two before I turn it back to Marie Ann. Well, it looks like we still have people answering, so we're going to give it just another minute or two till that number starts going up. Sherry, take the pub, and a shout out to Sherry Thomas from our board member, and she's from Napa County League, who is running this whole scene today, running the PowerPoints for us. So Sherry, take it down whenever you're ready. Okay, and we're not going to share the results today since this is just sort of internal bookkeeping for us. Okay, back to you, Marie Ann.
I think you're going to do this one on the SUFs, Roma.
Yes, I am, and thanks for the reminder. No doubt many of you have heard of SUFs, a Broadway musical about the women who fought tirelessly for the right to vote. Some of our favorite parts of history are reading about this movement. Well, SUFs is coming to the Orpheum Theater in San Francisco, thanks to the efforts of the San Francisco League. And there's going to be a special League Day with the opportunity to purchase discounted tickets and attend a pre-show mixer. League Day is on Saturday, October 25th. And by the way, we'll be entering this information later on into chat and sending it out to you later on in the week. But it is October 25th. That's the opening run of the show at 7:30 p.m. at the Orpheum. Local league presidents received an email from us, Marie Ann and I, asking each league to select a point person and send their contact info to the SF League. And I'll be entering that contact info into chat in a moment. Each league is going to get a unique discount code for its members to purchase discounted tickets. Additionally, leagues are going to get a very small portion of the ticket sales that are come back to the local league for whoever uses that discount code. If this is all news to you, please contact your league's president to find out if a point person has been selected for your league. Again, watch for an e-blast from League Bay Area a little bit later on, and I'll post an email address in chat in just a little while. Broadway San Francisco, again, will contact each local league's point person directly with instructions. And even though this is not until October 25th, tickets are going on sale very soon. So do find out from your local league what's going on so you don't miss this fun night. All right. Thank you, Marie Ann.
Okay, next slide, please. on the PMP, there have, some of you, I'm sure many of you have heard from your local leagues that there has been a change in the way that the National League is handling memberships, where members now pay directly to, or will pay directly to the National League and not to their local leagues as it had been in the past. And the rationale behind this is that the national decided that they wanted a more efficient way to increase membership and to appeal to a broader group of people for membership. And that way they would be able to have a dues levels that was be much more accessible to more leagues. And choosing what you pay will open leagues to more diverse, expansive membership. And it also increases funding to the state leagues. So what they have put what they have put in place is that there's no longer a fixed local level dues or fixed state and national PMP, which is what you're used to paying. Dues are now split to national with 20% to local, 47% to state, and 33% to national. The minimum payment, if you are cannot afford a higher amount, which is what they're proposing, I think $75, is a minimum payment they're accepting is $20. Students have to pay also. They're no longer free, and there are no more associate members. Donations are split among the three groups, local, state, and national. As far as ILOs like the League Bay Area are concerned, we are adjusting our budget to reduce the local PMP request, but we still need to have a source of funding from the local leagues. And we will be advising you of what our budget analysis determines that will be, but we will be reducing what we request from you. And I hope that's good news. And the next slide. In addition, we are developing a new website, which will support the efforts that we are putting in place to get more participation from the local leagues. Our goal is to get more regional information out to all of the local leagues and to be able to connect leagues better. So our new website will have some civic education resources. It will continue monitor notes and increase local event connection capabilities. We are asking the local leagues, and some of you have participated in our local league outreach meeting, which we are continuing. And we're asking them, what do you want? How do you want to work with us? How can we support you? Our new website will go live in estimating January of 2026, but our current site will be available until then. And we'll be transitioning things and informing you as we go along. The plan is to use Wix as the platform for ease of updating and flexibility. So now we want to know what your league wants to see on the new website. So as you think of things, please enter them in the chat. We will also be sending you requests for information about what you want to see, how you want to interact with us as we go forward. The next slide. And now Roma will be talking about our program and issues of emphasis.
Hi, everyone. This slide is just to remind you of what was approved by the delegates to the Biennial Convention 2024. The League Bay Area recommends the following issues of emphasis for 24-26: support the implementation of sustainable integrated regional policies and practices. And I'm not going to read all of it. The second part, advocate how agencies address interrelated regional issues of housing, transportation, conservation, and natural and agricultural landscapes, climate, sea level rise, social health equity in an integrated, holistic fashion, and also to extend the regional government and planning study for 1 year. Again, this is just to get everybody on the same page of where we are. And back to you, Marianne.
On the next slide, we are going to get reports from our board members on the areas that they are focusing on. Roma will talk about the transportation measures that's coming up. Louise will give her thoughts on Plan Bay Area 2050 plus. Jean will present her information on the Observer Corps. And I will talk about the public health series. Raina is at another event that she was mandated to be at, so she won't be with me on that one. And then we're going to talk about the program of outreach to the local leagues. And at the end of each of the presentations, please answer questions in chat that you have, and we'll try to answer them as we see them come along. So on transportation measure, Roma, you want to take the next slide.
Okay, I think the next slide is coming up. Again, just to remind you what we do at League Bay Area, just like we followed the development of Regional Measure 4, which never made it to the ballot, we have also been closely following a potential regional transportation measure that has gone through months of discussion at MTC ABAG without, frankly, reaching a strong consensus on what's going on. Today's presentation is not intended to be a full detail on this. It is 3 counties involved, Alameda, Contra Costa, and the city and county of San Francisco, with 2 other counties, San Mateo and Santa Clara counties, have the option to essentially opt into the bill. This is a bill that's still evolving, and I'll call your attention to the very bottom part, the next to the last bullet. The LWVA board, again, this has been so difficult for all of the 9 counties to come together and reach a consensus. There's not consensus even among the original BART counties. The board voted to hold an educational forum where we invite both supporters and opponents of SB 63 to participate. Now, our board has taken no position. If you just to remind you of how it works, it's similar to what a local league has to do. If there is a bill unique to the 9 Bay Area counties, we have to request the state league to take action. So far, we've not made a request. If you would like to be involved in this education forum, have any ideas, I've already heard from several of you. Please, again, feel free to send an email to League Bay Area, and you can just write SB 63 in the subject area, and we will get back to you. Now, there are some deadlines. It has already passed through the committees in the Senate, and it's due for its 3rd reading very soon. It will undoubtedly pass on to the Assembly. The Assembly basically has until mid-July to hear the bill, and then mid-September is the last date to actually for each house to pass bills. That is why right now I cannot give you a specific date. We're reaching out to state legislators, to local representatives on transportation agencies. If you have any insight from your agency, please, let us know right away. Again, please send an email, and you can feel free to enter it into chat right now or send it to our email address. We check this account every day. So with that, Marianne, I'm going to turn it back to you. Again, you will get this is just the basics, and I'd be happy to send more information to anybody that requests it. Thank you.
Yeah, and there will be more information coming out about this project, and we will be sure to send that out. And I really encourage you to subscribe to the monitor notes that you can do from right on our website. And because that's where a lot of this information will be spread out directly to you if you're registered. Our next speaker is going to be Louise, who is going to talk about the Plan Bay Area 2050 Plus. Louise?
Thank you. And I'm here in Wisconsin and my camera isn't working, but I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to people about the Plan Bay Area 2050 Plus, and also to mention the Regional Shoreline Adaptive Plan. Plan Bay Area has evolved over the years. The current version is called Plan Bay Area 2050 Plus, with the most recent update occurring last summer. This update involved a collaboration of partners and elected officials, as well as members of the public. The League of Women Voters Bay Area has followed the development of the original plan since it was adopted in 2013, and its successor, which was Plan Bay Area 2040, adopted in 2017. And our recommendations, particularly on environmental work, have led to the adoption in Plan Bay Area 2050 with approval, and many were included in the current version of the plan. And so we really have been tracking this and following this for some time. And I just want to remind you that we had the luck of having Daniel speak more specifically to us about the plan in 2024. So what is Plan Bay Area? Well, it is a regional approach for the 9 Bay Area counties, their governments, various agencies, and the over 100 cities and villages to address common issues to ensure a collaborative and sustainable approach that will include all peoples. The guiding principles for the Regional Bay Area Plan continue to focus on 5 basic principles, which emphasize equity priority communities. These priorities and principles are to ensure that the Bay Area remains affordable. All Bay Area residents and workers have sufficient housing options they can afford. Households are economically secure. 2, we want to be connected. As expanded, well-functioning, safe, and multimodal transportation system connects the Bay Area to be fast, frequent, and efficient. Intercity trips are completed by a suite of local transportation options and connecting communities and creating a cohesive region. Third, we want to be and acknowledge the diversity of the Bay Area. The Bay Area is an inclusive region where people from all backgrounds, abilities, and ages can remain in place with full access to the region's assets and resources. Fourth, health. The region's natural resources, open space, clean water, and clean air are conserved and that the region actively reduces its environmental footprint and protects residents from environmental impacts. And lastly, we want to remain vibrant. The Bay Area is an innovation leader, creating quality job opportunities for all and ample fiscal resources for communities. The outreach done last year emphasizes 3 areas in particular: transportation improvements with emphasis on increasing transit frequency, improving connections, and enhancing safety and cleanliness, and housing and land use, focused on the complexities of implementing housing strategies, preserving industrial lands, and streamlining development processes. And finally, roads and tolling. It's important for equity in roadway pricing strategies and the need for public education to address community concerns. Of the latest importance, of course, is what about sea level rise? BCDC, the Bay Commission and Development Committee, has worked on something called the Regional Shoreline Adaptive Plan. And Senate Bill 272 required the Bay Conservation and Development Commission, correct me from a moment ago, to create a viable regional approach to sea level rise. According to Bay Adapt, regional strategy for a rising impact of sea level along this San Francisco shoreline is really going to impact us all. And therefore, we really are looking forward to a regional unified approach. The Bay Area League would like to and continue to follow both Plan Bay Area 2050 Plus and the Regional Shoreline Adaptive Plan, as these impact all of us. And so we encourage you to join the Bay Area League in educating your league members, your neighbors, and your community about these important plans. Thanks very much. And I turn it back to you, Marie-Ann.
Oh, thank you so much, Louise. I think on the next slide, you'll see some links that will take you to more detailed information that Louise has shared as on the Plan Bay Area 2050 Plus and the Regional Shoreline Adaptation Plan. And these are live links that when you get the copy of the PowerPoint, you can click on those and get right to the information that we need. Now we have a report and an invitation from Jean Perry on the Observer Corps. Jean, you're muted.
Oh my goodness, here we go. Good morning. I'm the Observer Corps Coordinator for League Bay Area, and I would like to extend an invitation to each of you this morning to join the League of Women Voters Observer Corps for a 2-year term monitoring regional agencies. Observing our government in action preserves our right to know. The Observer Corps performs a foundational function of the League on national, state, regional, and local levels. And I'd like to put up the poll now to find out who of you are already participating in Observer Corps in your local leagues. So I'll continue on while you vote on that, while you tell us whether or not you are. So experience has shown the importance of League of Women voter presence, taking action when warranted. The next slide, please. How to get started as an observer. Number one, let us know you're interested. And the third slide will give the contact information. So you'll need to select a regional agency to observe. The Bay Area League of Women Voters website has a comprehensive listing of regional agencies and their committees. There are kind of a summary. There's a summary for each agency, and then there's a more in-depth description. Some agencies might have multiple committees. You would choose one. While you're there, take a look at our League of Women Voter Bay Area positions. You will observe in the context of the positions that are applicable to what the agency does. Number three, you can meet with me by phone, Zoom, or in person, and we'll talk about how to prepare to observe your role as an observer, how to report, and how your reports will help the board determine if any action is warranted. So finally, we encourage you to join the Observer Corps, observe and report regularly. And if you could show the third slide with our contact information, and it looks like a whopping 17% of us have already participated as an observer in their local league. And it looks like we have another whopping 17%, that might be calling me or texting me or emailing me. So I look forward to increasing the ranks of the agencies that are being monitored. And thank you.
So I think the poll is done now. And thank you so much, Jean. That was very interesting. We have a question from Sherry Smith.
Hi there, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello. A
Can-
little louder, please.
Well, this is about as loud as I can get.
Okay, now it's good.
I'm shout, okay, good. No, I just wanted to thank Jean for being the coordinator of all of this. We've always needed somebody who's gonna champion the Observer Corps, and it's lain fallow for a long period of time in local leagues and certainly in the Bay Area. So it's a job that someone needs to do. Jean has said she'll do it. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Sherry. And we do appreciate Jean's efforts on the behalf of the Bay Area League. And I'm sure we'll get more people signed up for Observer Corps.
And you'll get a button to wear.
And that is quite a button. Can't miss on that one. Okay, and the next report we have is on the public health series. Raina Lowry and I have been working on this for a while now, as you can see from the dates on the events. And what we wanted to do was to raise the importance and the value of the public health system to our communities as part of the civic health continuum of the League in empowering voters and defending democracy. And I think we've seen in the current environment that health and public health have become even more important. We're just coming out of a pandemic, and we're looking at restrictions on vaccinations and other health areas that may impact us in the future. What we have already done is we did a event on community health, an event on chronic disease, the impact of race and gender on health, housing impact on health, climate change and the childhood experience and the toxic stress syndrome. We're going to be presenting an event on nutrition with a couple of really great speakers, and the information on registering for that event is on our website. The date for that one is June 26th, and we're going to be ending the series on with the politics of health in the fall. We really appreciate any feedback. If you've been able to participate as an observer in this, on these events, if you liked them, if you found them of value, the links to the recordings are on our website. You notice we're really emphasizing the website today. And we invite you to take a look. These presentations are all by experts in the health fields, and are excellent information available. The next slide. My co-president and I, Roma Dawson, have been doing a local league outreach program. We've gone through 10 local leagues and presented during their board meetings our mission and our goals, and asked them to share their goals with us and how we, League Bay Area, can support them. We will continue meeting with the locals to finish off the initial program. And we will also be following up with them on some of the items that they have said they would like support on. Some of the areas that they have mentioned to us are the Highway 37 project, program planning, SB 36, housing, gee, lots of housing interest, and more that we will be looking at as we review their program planning. So your continuing feedback is needed. We really want to make sure we're addressing the issues that are important to you. And so enter them in the chat. We'll be reviewing the chat and following up with the information that you have presented. And now I am very pleased to present a report from our past chair, Kathleen Shaw, on the League Bay Area study, a regional study update. All right, thank you. Kathleen, take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We're still in the morning. I'm kind of excited to give you the update. We've been going through this, but let me set some stage why this has been an important study. The League of Women Voters Bay Area, it's an ILO, interleague organization, is one of the oldest organizations in the San Francisco Bay Area dedicated to the concept of regional solutions. Formed in 1961, LWVBA has a special league of women voters function of managing studies of regional problems, evaluating regional planning, decision-making, and implementation dealing with growth management, and resolving problems beyond boundaries of one county. Now, why I'm reiterating that because it goes to what's behind and what's gone before. Today is about our update to our regional study, an announcement of our next steps, and the role of Bay Area leagues in helping us to update our positions on regional planning and government. Now, as you know, our LWVBA Regional Government and Planning Study was voted at our June 2022 convention. It was noted that the update study was considered necessary in light of changes in scope and structure of regional agencies, In particular, that the fact that regional planning collaborations, partnerships that had moved beyond what we had in our current position of creating a mega or multi-purpose regional agency with elected representatives. And secondly, there was the need to more specifically focus on regional agency, integrated planning and priorities regarding Bay Area sustainability, resilience, equity, housing, transportation, and the impact on local government and communities, and how it was reflected in our regional government and planning positions. So let me first call out, as you can see on the slide here, our regional study committee that has been meeting monthly since that time. And then let's talk about what have we been doing that leads to our update announcement that you're going to see here. I have, Kathleen Chaw, I have been serving as chair, LWVBA Oakland, and now LWVBA Oakland and Solano County. Linda Craig has been on the committee out of South San Mateo County, and a past leader in regional kind of decision-making and parts in the Bay Area. Matt Roma Dawson, from not only of our, as you have seen, but she's also representing San Jose, Santa Clara leagues. Madeline Cronenberg out of West Contra Costa County, board member. Reina Lari, San Jose, Santa Clara. Louise Rothman-Weimer, whom you heard from out of Oakland. Yolanda Schoenberg out of Napa County on the board. Marianne, of course, Chauvelin, Cupertino and Sunnyvale League. Sherry Thomas has been a continuing contributor. Phyllis White Ironrow, who is out of Oakland. Jean Perry, you've seen, North Central San Mateo County. We'll shout out to Kevin Ma, who contributed an incredible amount to our study, Los Altos, Mountain View area. And then Julie Pollitt had been a contributor. I do want to make a shout out in all of this to the Santa Clara County Council. They provided a very insightful, on-target written review of LWVBA positions submitted in 2022. In particular, their recommendations on regional government and regional planning. These were invaluable as we've been moving forward in our study. So this leads out. So what have we done to date? What's been going on? And you know, we've kind of mentioned everything in the past, but we haven't really kind of itemized all of the many steps. We have first examined past studies and the evolution of regionalism, regional decision-making, and there have been a lot of studies, 1961, 1970, 1980, 1990, and then the one in 2000. We have updated information on the range of regional decision-making from the four major agencies and the resulting task force and planning initiatives. Our goal was to increase our understanding of the scope and impact of regional planning and regional governance. We have crafted briefings and links on their issues and created a full link spreadsheet listing them, their purview, their equity positions. We have observed and interviewed key state legislators with experience in Bay Area regional government and other regional decision makers, reflecting their engagement, their leadership on the boards of MTC, Metropolitan Transportation Commission, MTC, ABAG, Association of Bay Area Governments, BCDC, which is the San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission, and the Regional Water Quality Control Board and the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. Many of these decision makers and leaders that we talk to sit on these boards, so they have provided some insightful input. We have examined the regional planning consolidation of MTC and ABAG and their integrated policies in their Plan Bay Area 2050 plus plan, and which you heard Louise talk about, and the BCDC's integrated environmental plan, the regional shoreline adaptation plan. Then we have And that's kind of where we are to that point. And now what we're doing is we are crafting a study kit on all these findings and with the recommendations for local leagues for their review. And then we're compiling all of our findings and research into a final full study document. This brings us to what you see here on the slide, our next step, which is the critical role of 20 Bay Area leagues and research play in formulating our positions. So we will extend the regional government and regional planning positions update study until our biennial convention 2026. And this is to honor the request of Bay Area leagues to ensure that there's time for their informed review and recommendations regarding proposed updated positions. Slide 2. That was a long slide 1. Now we get to slide 2. So what are we doing? We are, our next step, of course, is our building our league consensus. Our timeline is this. We will distribute a full study kit with proposed study positions and briefings for the 20 leagues review and recommendations. This kit will provide enough information and background so that local league leadership can set up a league discussion meeting for approval, edit, and recommendations. And please, any questions or comments in the study, please don't hesitate to send to our email address, LWVBA area at gmail.com. And as Roma had mentioned, we keep a record of what comes in, and this email is checked every day, and we will respond accordingly to your request and the support you need as you do these local league meetings. The deadline for local league input is February 27, 26. Why we've done that is we wish to give adequate meeting planning time for all the leagues. And we fully appreciate and understand that there are many other local priorities and other involvement in other national state study demands, and the very fact that there are voter service needs throughout this period, which is why we have created the February 27, 26 as our deadline. Then what will happen, once we've received your inputs, the reviewed recommendations will be incorporated into our final positions that will go before the LWVBA board for the approval. Then at the LWVBA biennial convention, we will, delegates will be ratifying these positions, and where we will have the full 20 leagues represented. So what are we now for slide 3? What are our outcomes? What are we looking for? We're looking for a recognition of integrated regional planning collaborations and an updated LWVBA regional positions regarding Bay Area sustainability, resilience, equity, housing, and transportation. These updated positions are important because they're going to serve as a guideline for action policies by us all, fulfilling our mission to observe regional planning and governance, review how decision-making impacts Bay Area communities, address systemic inequities, and promote transparency, financial accountability, and inclusive participation. And again, do not hesitate to send to the committee any other questions or comments. So what we're going to do is, the whole idea is that working together, this will help us carry out the legacy of LWVBA as an action arm dedicated to the concept of regional solutions. And that is my quickest way of giving an update on the study. So I turn it back over to you, Marie.
Well, thank you so much, Kathleen. That was great. And I'm sure we're all gonna look forward to getting your kit
Yes.
by August 1st. Okay, now I think Roma and I want to talk about the action plan for 2025-2026. The action plan includes the items that you see on budget focus and reducing our PMP. Because of the change by national in the way they're distributing funding, we never did get funds from national, but we were encouraged and supported in getting the PMP from the local leagues. Since that's no longer going to be the case, we're going to have to really tighten our belts here and still ask for PMP contributions and look at other ways we might be able to increase our funding sources. The next item on the list is our new website development. We want to make this a key way that we connect with all of you and providing information, resources, and connections. We will also be monitoring the MTC ABAG and the BAHFA and other regional agencies through participation in the Observer Corps, as well as monitoring information from them and sharing the information through the monitor notes. And we want to make sure we are understanding what your priorities are on the local leagues. So we have been asking for the local leagues to send us their priority list from their program planning sessions. And we want to make sure that we are paying attention and supporting those program priorities. Is there anything else that we need to talk about here, Roma?
Sorry, folks, a little trouble hitting my unmute button. I just want to reiterate that for the last few years, ever since we heard about the transformation plan, we have been working very hard to reduce our fixed expenses. Just a small example is we no longer have a phone number. That's why we've been entering our email, LWVBayArea@gmail.com, into the chat so frequently. We monitor it every day, and if you need us, you will get a call back. And again, Sherry, who's a longtime member of League Bay Area Board and a past president, thank you for acknowledging Jean. It takes a village, folks, and monitoring MTC ABAG. I urge you to go back to our website. Marianne put the direct link into the chat for you. You can go back and look at a very excellent slide presentation made by the #2 person at MTC ABAG that helps sort of sort all this out. And again, observing is a scalable thing. It can be tailored to your interest. And just also echo what Marianne, and I want to thank Marianne for coming up with the term action plan, because when she first said it, I thought, wow, that's exactly what we need to do, an action plan. So again, if you have any thoughts on something that we haven't missed, we want to just be very clear about where we're focusing for this next fiscal year. And that's about all, except a big thank you to Marianne for all the work she's put together on this today.
Well, I think part of, or as Roma said, it does take a village, and our board members have been very supportive in helping us put together this presentation and these reports. I want to go to the next slide, because that's where we want to hear from you. We have, how many here? Oh, 33 people on the call right now. And if each of you would type in one suggestion or one piece of information that you want us to hear, we're listening.
We sure are. We sure are. And we really want to hear from you.
So we'll have a little bit of, we should have music in this part, you know?
Well, again, just thank everybody for attending, hoping that your air conditioning is holding up because it's about 90 something degrees almost where Marie Ann and I are living in Santa Clara County. Also, if you have any interest in joining the board, you have an interest in regional government, please send something to lwvbayarea@gmail.com. Let us know who you are. Tell us what your interests are, because we've had some resignations from long-term board members, and we are particularly interested in adding new board members at this point. Let's see. Oh, thank you very much, Sherry, who's quietly working behind the scenes.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay, we have a suggestion to send email reminders when new postings are made on the website. Well, that's a great idea, Evan. Thank you.
It is. And I see Phyllis, one of our study committee members, says we can get a Google phone number at no charge. So Phyllis, we'll look into that. We're investigating several ways to use our Gmail account more effectively. So thanks for that ad. I'll add that to the list to research.
And I think what we'd like to do, we're going to end a little bit early, I think, which, I mean, I'm sure you really hate to hear that on your Saturday morning. Okay, another idea is to have the new website might include the list of hot links to resources on immigration. Wow, well, we need somebody to manage that project, Jim. Are you volunteering for that?
It's a great idea. We just formed for the first time ever in my league, San Jose, Santa Clara. Of course, we are a majority minority city. So we're very concerned about ICE raids. We formed an immigration committee for the first time. Something that we haven't mentioned, because we wanted to see if you would mention it, is there's a lot of interest in civics education. So we are looking at these sorts of topics like immigration, civics education, that might be something that we would try to catalog on our website in some way. So keep those suggestions coming. Again, the meeting may be ending soon, but our Gmail account is always up. We check it every day, and we will compile all your suggestions we receive on any of those topics.
And one thing that I would like to share is I second the idea of a civics education program. I know that one of the other leagues, and I'm not going to say which one because I'm not remembering it correctly. But I know one of the other leagues has done a civics education program, maybe more than one, and we will be connecting with them. And one of the other things we are hoping to do with our new website is to is to be able to share more of the resources that other leagues have. I know that some of the leagues have done a series on climate change issues, and I get some of their emails, and I'd like to share more of that with everybody in the Bay Area. And I think there are ways we can do that and be able to support the efforts that all of us are making.
And Jim, thank you for your posting. And I sign up for as many newsletters as I can, and I'm going to be sure to sign up for Sonoma County. And feel free to send your local league newsletters to LWVBayarea@gmail.com. But feel free to send yours. San Mateo County does it. Several of the counties send them to us, and it's very helpful for us to see what's in your voter letters.
And do we have one more slide that we want to share with everybody, Sherry?
There we go. Just
We
many,
want-
many thanks.
Yes, Roma and I want to thank all of you for participating this morning. Saturday morning is a very special time for most of us. We have families, we have lives beyond league. But we look forward to seeing you. I mean, you know, like with our face-to-face seeing with hugs and stuff like that. And so we hope to see you at virtually at the League California Convention, at the SUFS performance in October, at the League in-person events. There will be a few, and we're planning on having a few of those at your league board meetings when we participate, and we just barge right in there with the permission of your presidents. And at our board meetings. Our board meetings are open to all. And the link to the board meeting is on our website. So you are all welcome to participate and make suggestions there. Okay, I have another suggestion in the chat. Some of the suggestions seem to be calling on the Bay Area League to be an information site on more than Bay Area agencies and issues. And we have to be careful about that because we are part of the League, California League, and they have jurisdiction over some of those areas. So we'd have to double check on that. But thanks again and enjoy the rest of your weekend and keep cool.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.